and let us all do we can to build a better future. Daniel.
Yeah.
You got a story for the people. What is going on?
So as I was just talking about, there are situations where we're looking for the squad and people in that group to do something we can go, yes, thank you. At least you're talking about it, even if you're not doing anything about it. And this is one of those situations. Rashida Tlaib is actually stepping up and trying to fight the growing of the surveillance state, which I think we should all applaud her for because we want her to do things that are useful, such as this. Let's go on it. So, the second-term Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, the outspoken progressive Palestinian-American and member of the squad, is leading the opposition to calls from the Biden administration and others to massively expand the security state in response to the Capitol attack. Rep. Tlaib earlier this week released a letter to Congress leadership co-signed by 9 other progressive Democrats, arguing that the U.S. is already well-equipped to monitor and prosecute the groups behind the deadly Trump-incited attack. And again, I would add a little context that I'm going to bring to that, which is this is the police letting them in. That was the real issue. Any crowd outside the White House when Trump was president, which there were a lot of protests outside the White House. Lane, you're not telling me that if the police had opened the gates and the door to the White House, people would have not flowed in. This is a control issue. Anyway. There's no need to hand law enforcement and surveillance agencies new laws and powers. Just because you're not doing your own stuff properly doesn't mean that we get to lose our rights. In the letter, Tlaib noted that several other expansions of the security state, especially the Patriot Act, passed in the wake of September 11th attacks, were largely used against marginalized groups. Yes, she also warned that eroding civil liberties is not the answer to holding accountable the Trump supporters who stormed the Capitol. Yes, thank you. Tlaib also caused a stir this week with her comments on Democracy Now!, which Wikipedia we now know looks as a not valid or not too valid a news agency akin to they're akin to Glenn Beck.
I think they're in the yellow.
Yeah, so they're Glenn Beck adjacent then.
Yeah,
or whatever it is,
somewhat adjacent.
Wherever it is, it's a bad system. Go watch the previous thing, in which she described Israel as a racist state for not providing COVID vaccines directly to the Palestinians. Because remember, they're sort of like in an open-air prison and can't really get these themselves, so they're at the behest of Israel. Hopefully they don't shoot them with snipers while they're at it. Critics have pushed back on similar accusations, noting that Israel, and I love that they're like, no, we have to make sure we make a point in this article. We're not going to address everything else. Also, notice, this is what they always do with Tlaib, because she is Palestinian. Anytime that there's anything with her that she's doing something good, every article, and I'm defending her on this one because it's realistic, they always go, yeah, article, she said these things. She also doesn't like Israel. We want to make sure we throw that somewhere in the article so you don't forget that you shouldn't like the rest of the points. I mean, that's always how they do things. Anyway, so they make the point that that Israel is vaccinating Arab Israeli citizens and Palestinian residents in East Jerusalem, which is not everyone. And I'm not sure how many people they're doing it or how they're prioritizing that. But thanks for throwing that in there, Yahoo News. Just to make sure we got the point, which was relevant to this. Anyway, I'm trying not to get off track with that. So, and that the also accords place vaccination responsibilities on the Palestinian Authority. Oh yeah, right, the one that can't even get concrete to rebuild their buildings that get blown up. Those guys. Oh yeah, that's their responsibility to get a vaccine imported. Right? Yeah, of course. With all the money that they're making from that basically bombed city. And that Palestinian Authority has reportedly not asked for Israeli help in securing vaccines. Yeah, that's like a don't punch yourself sort of a thing. Insider columnist Anthony Fisher spoke by phone with Rashida Tlaib this Thursday about her bold opposition to giving law enforcement sweeping new powers, her hope that civil liberty defending Republicans will join her in this cause, and how she'd like to see Biden administration address relations, again, they're throwing it again, with Israel and Palestine. So again, hey, I'm talking, hey, policing issue, hey, a thing over here. Hey, she talks about Israel in a way that people don't like. Always make sure you conflate. And so on this issue, I'm glad to see her talking about this. I'm glad to see she's stepping out and putting some political capital up on this issue. I do appreciate it. And I think all of us should, because when our congressmen do actually do something that is what we want, we should say, I mean, keep it going. Don't stop. But good job here. Okay. So keep going. Actually win.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, look,
with Rashida Tlaib, I mean, obviously, you know, she has her point of view with what's happening in Israel and Palestine, but you know, when she calls it out, she's being bullied around by the media and those who are associated with Israel. And the thing is, that the sad fact is that, you know, she's also part of this super fast rush to call for big tech censorship. And the thing is, you know, what I think a lot of these politicians, progressive politicians, fail to realize is that what she is saying will also be censored because it's going to go up against a corporate narrative. And remember, Rashid and to the progressive congressmen and women that are on the force to vote petition, you guys voted in Nancy, who has a lot of close ties with a lot of lobby groups that also have ties towards Israel and all this other stuff. So, I mean, on the one hand, I'm glad she's still speaking out. On the other hand, you know, be careful because you're going to get censored now too. And this is more, again, going to what Tulsi Gabbard brought up. Maybe you should sit AOC and the rest of the squad and the other progressive congressmen and women down, and, you know, Rashid, you should just explain to them, hey, maybe we were wrong on the censorship thing because I could see you guys being censored right away. Maybe your Twitter account gets taken down, because if they could take down President Donald Trump's Twitter account as well as ban him on so many other social media platforms, who's to say you guys aren't next? Because this is the danger of censorship, because once you censor somebody, you're censoring them all. Yeah. And the thing is, how do you beat hate speech? With compassion and intelligence, because I believe the world is filled with good people, and I believe in a better future. But, you know, it's hard for me to defend Rashid on one hand, but because on the other hand, you know, she's also calling for censorship too. Yeah. So I mean, it's not a win-win. You gotta call it out for what it is, and I hope they move away from this path of censorship, because it's going to bite them very soon. Yeah, and that again, let me make that all very clear. So, like, again, I'm saying that this is like the minimum of what I would expect out of them in not even an idea, like a normal situation, like maybe like where I was mentally in 2016 around when they got elected. But it's like, it's something, and I think that for me at least, we see so little of them that they've been so disappointing at just about everything. The fact that something is actually being talked about that's worth talking about it means something to me at least, even if it probably won't mean anything in terms of policy, or something will get passed that shouldn't. So yeah.